So the question then that we've got to ask is, Deebo Samuel at the price you gave him, or in a world where other guys are comparable, like DK Metcalf, and we just don't know what is the trade compensation. It might take a 4, it might take a 3. You never know. I think because he's got $31 million left on his deal and someone's got to take on $18 million in cap space. We just saw that Washington gave up a 5 for Deebo. DK is a little younger and more productive, so that it's at least a 4. I would think maybe even a 3rd round pick. But would you rather have, knowing what you know now, Deebo at that cost, or let's say DK with a late 3rd and
a $32 million cap hit?
Well, no, but the cap hit's 18, so it's $31 million for Seattle. But the number that the team will inherit is closer to 18. I read yesterday. They've got to pay some. I don't know how it works.
Okay.
But basically, that's his cap number for Seattle. But you understand what I'm saying? So would you rather Deebo Samuel, 5th round pick, $18 million, or say DK Metcalf, 3rd or 4th round pick, and around $18 million?
I think it's narrowly DK Metcalf for me, but not by a lot.
So does that make you feel any differently, or no? Because bird in the hand.
Bird in the hand.
There's no guarantee you can make that trade.
That's
or that
my
they
point.
want to make that trade, or that another team doesn't give more.
Right. So I got this one. I won this sweepstakes, right? And I'm willing to do it because it makes sense for me at this point. It may not make sense for a lot of teams. It makes perfect sense for me. 2 guys in my wide receiver room. One was a quarterback an hour ago. The other's Terry McLaurin. I need more weaponry. So is he a running back? Yes. Is he a receiver? Yes. Is he a slot guy? Yes. I've solved a bunch of different things creative-wise with this one player. I would love a traditional, quote-unquote, number 2 receiver that has an elite skill set doing certain things. Metcalf as a deep threat to me is the whole point. He's not there to shake you down, not there to break ankles and run crisp routes. He is a big, strong freight train that goes deep as good or better than anybody in the sport. That's really valuable to me. I want that too. But, you know, if I've got to choose either or, just the fact that this is done now and you're not entering into some sort of extra layer of competition with folks from Metcalf. And let's say you didn't do Deebo Samuel and you go, what we're holding out for is DK Metcalf. And it turns out 4 other teams are. And he doesn't like Washington, D.C. for whatever reason, or he's not one of the guys that watched Jaden Daniels with Brandon Ayuk, or for whatever. Who knows?
I think that's a part of the problem is when we talk about these trades, we view them almost in this fantasy football world where it's about the draft pick and the money. And if it's equal, then you could have just done this exact same thing. Maybe not. Maybe the Packers or the Steelers come forward and DK Metcalf prefers to go there, and so Seattle ships him there because the compensation is really similar. Or maybe because he's actually more productive and a little younger and has seemingly less of a regression here recently, maybe just more of a market. And now, even though we think we know the value, there's a bidding war and it goes up. I just don't think we can look at it in that same vacuum when we're talking about 1-to-1. Now, the exercise is still a good one from Walder, who's a smart guy at ESPN, in saying what I don't like about this is you could have used that money in another way. That's always true. You could use it on a D tackle or a D end or a wide receiver. And he's saying, I'd rather basically still have that money and the possibility to see what else shakes free. Maybe that's paying Christian Kirk or trading for Devontae Adams before he got cut, or now signing him. Again, I'm not interested in Adams, but my point is he's going, knowing where Deebo is right now in his career, I'll take the unknown and the chance at striking on something I like more than Deebo Samuel. But Danny, I don't think this was a Deebo versus DK thing for them. I don't think it was a Deebo versus Adams thing. I think this was hey, I really know Deebo Samuel. I have a relationship with him. I like him. I will bet on him. And he wants to come here, by the way. He likes our quarterback. He knows some of our coaches. He knows me as a general manager. I think this was a fit, and I think the price was right, and so they did it. I don't think they went to the store to buy cereal, and then they were choosing between 4 boxes of DK and Deebo and Devontae. I just think, basically they were walking out of the store, and someone's like, hey, do you want this? And they go, actually, I've always liked that one. Yeah, we'll take that one. Walder and other people are looking at this like they were going to spend $20 million on a receiver and give up a 5th round pick for someone, and they chose Deebo Samuel. I don't think that's how it happened.
I agree with you. And I think ultimately, and I said this yesterday after Walder was on, I'm going to read the next thing he puts out, because he comes at this like completely passionless. There's no rooting interest in his formulations, calculations. He's looking at numbers. He's looking at data. And for the data inclined, you would go, this move makes a little bit less sense than maybe door number 2 or door number 3, some of the unknown, where you could maximize dollar figures here, there, and everywhere. And I'm going, normally, I think that person, let me rephrase that. That guy needs a seat at the table for me. I always want the analytics guy to go, I just plugged in the calculation, and here's what I came up with. Thank you for the information. I could either follow it or not follow it based on some well thought out criteria. And I'm sure that's happening in Washington now, whereas it wasn't before. It was Bruce's gut. But now I'm basically sitting here going, what we need and what's normally worth it to us is going to be a little bit different. And what I mean is, we've got extra salary cap space, fewer draft picks. We've got a dire need at a given position. It's, $20 million on a receiver versus $20 million on a middle linebacker aren't equal for us in terms of needing to improve our roster. So the idea that you were going to take that, I'm just calling it $18 million, and spend it on something that might be a better above replacement spot in terms of expected points added at a different position, the value isn't necessarily there for the team that didn't have a receiver that needs more playmakers to help their quarterback. You know what I mean? So the value to us, because we were desperate for that receiver, is more valuable than, say, a defensive tackle who would occupy the same salary cap space.
I'm just going on record to say that I don't view it as they chose him over Diggs or Keenan Allen or whatever. Like, it's not like they had decided one of these guys is definitely coming in here. Which one is it? And then Deebo became the guy. I don't think you'd strike first if that's how you were doing it. I think you'd let the market develop a little bit and kind of see where it went between all those receivers that are 31 or 32. Adams, Diggs, Allen, Cooper, Brandon Cooks, whoever else is in there. But to me, this was the stars aligned, guy they knew, guy that wanted to be here on the cheap, as opposed to maybe a similar offseason to last year, honestly, where they go out and they get, I'm just going to make up some names, but like they bring Crowder back, and then they bring in Van Jefferson, and Olamide Zaccheaus is back, and they go get River Craycraft or Sterling Shepard or, DeAndre Carter or Juju Smith-Schuster or something. And they just kind of piecemeal it together. I think that's absolutely part of the options, and I would take what they just did over that. But I think this is at least interesting to pose on the phones, even though it's not exact and it's not one-to-one. But DK Metcalf, who would cost a similar amount against the cap, you would have given up at least probably one round more valuable draft pick, and then an extension or 1 year of Deebo Samuel with the potential of ultimately keeping him around if he's really good. Because the extension, I think, is a lock, too, for DK wherever he goes. I don't think DK Metcalf's going somewhere and someone is taking him on at 18 mil and not extending him based on his age, and there's some predictability there with his game, as you said. To me, that screams extension, and he's asking for one, obviously.
Yeah.
So it's a better pick, similar money, a little bit more, but similar, we'll say. It's a wash. And then an extension. But you have DK Metcalf now for the foreseeable future for a few years.
You got a really good complimentary receiver.
Or what they did 1 year for Deebo. Which would you guys have rather done? 800-636-1067. That's 800-636-1067.
So as I said, to start it, it's narrowly DK Metcalf, assuming both are available. I can go to the shopping market. The shopping market? What am I, 1,000? I can go to the grocery store,
the supermarket, and you'll take out your pocketbook.
Oh, I've got a coupon for that. I'm going to pay by check.
And then you'll have crisp $1 bills, and you'll count out your change.
1, 2. Let me start again. 10, 20. It's narrowly Metcalf, just because I value that skill set so much. I just don't think I think we underestimate that sometimes, even if it's not as productive on a given game. The ability of the guy to go deep, to win those contested balls, to run past people. I think that skill set is valuable to have in and of itself, but it also scares the hell out of people. I want that. I think it's more room for then ultimately what Kingsbury wants to do, which is the underneath, which is working quick, which is short drops, the hitches, the crosses, the shallow stuff, throws quickly out of the backfield, getting the ball to the quarterback's hands. I think every once in a while, you got to be able to show that you can go over the top. And that's as good as anybody right now in the sport at doing that. So there are going to be years where you go, what happened? He only had 967 yards. It's because they played enough games where enough people are going, we're not him. We're not letting him go over the top to beat us at this point. And he can still do that at an elite level. So it's narrowly Metcalf, because I'd be into having him and McLaurin as my 1 and 1A for the next 4, 5, 6 years. Maybe 6 is too much, but I would do that.